millions of customers every month buy experiences from Headout. They buy experiences like guided tours, attractions, activities. When a customer buys an experience, they receive a ticket. And this is where we were facing design problems. We were facing more and more problems every day where customers were having a bad experience on the ground because of bad ticket design. Let's take a look at top 3 problems our customer support team highlighted that the customers were clearly facing. The first problem is that of print and mobile tickets. Customers were not clear, they were missing out that they had to print a print ticket. And in case of mobile tickets, they would take the ticket to the place on their mobile phones only to realize their internet does not work. The second problem we saw a customer face was meeting point. They were missing out where to reach. Where am I supposed to reach to start my experience? The third problem was there were important instructions that were clearly not being read. Instructions like you need health certificate to jump out of a helicopter, you need student ID if you have purchased discounted tickets, etc, etc. So let's take a look at these tickets. This is the first version of the ticket. You can see it's a big wall of text and no one read it. No doubt people are missing out. At this point, marketing and content team did an audit of 400 tickets where they studied the tickets and the customer stories behind them. Using this, they were able to fix the common communication problem, the common content problem, the repeat information, and this is what the new ticket looked like. But even now, there's a lot of conflicting information. The location is mentioned twice. The QR code and 5% together looks like the QR code is for 5% discount, but that's actually the QR code used by the on-ground staff to give you the access to the experience. There's still a big wall of text, and the meeting point, while it's more visual, it's very cluttered still. It does not make sense. And once you print it, those colors don't have enough contrast and you lose information. So this was bad. Customers were paying for these experiences and tickets were like, "You shall not pass!" We definitely need a better way. So let's redesign, right? Sure, this ticket is filled with information. So let's look at all the information we are trying to communicate, like ticket, date, time, variant, experience, seat number, seat row, packs type, packs count,
validity, reach here, meeting point, legality, age limit, health, cancellation policy, contact this person, vendor number, QR code, barcode.
There were about 27 variables. Each of these variables at least had 2 states. The simplest of our ticket had 7 of these variables in at least 2 states. That's over 3,400 combinations to design and count for. And if you look at all 20 other variables, I can't even. We can't just simply design for each permutation combination that exists, iterate each ticket type. We have to take a different approach. This is where we come to design frameworks. What is a design framework? Let's understand it by building one. To build one, we dig deeper into the problem statement. Whenever in doubt, dig deeper to understand the problem better. So we know the problem statements. We have an audit report to understand what 400 customer what already goes wrong. We need more stories. We need a little more context to, instead of treating these problems as loose and isolated cases that we must solve for, we need to understand why these problems happen and in what context are they happening, what happens before and after, what is going through the customer's head. Here we can use NPS data, comments on the Play Store, comments in the customer support tickets customers have raised, reached out to them to understand their stories. Let's take a look at 3 NPS ratings NPS comments that we looked at that helps us understand the context better. First one says the meeting place was not signposted. No one could explain what we were doing there. I didn't buy group tickets, but I had to wait for the other people to enter and then go to the forum. I did not even have time. When we were in Rome, we bought tickets to the Colosseum and we were supposed to meet across from the church at the ticket office. When we arrived, it took 25 minutes to find our group because no one was holding a sign and we were not aware where the Headout group was meeting. The Headout experience we had at the Vatican was much better and the directions were more clear, but I don't think I would take the risk again. The last one is information regarding meeting places was not precise enough for a visitor who does not know the place as well as you guys do. The last one is brilliant. It exactly puts the context to the problem. The people are new there. They do not know the city. We just can't throw a map at them. We need to help them out a little bit more. When we dig deeper into the story, we realize that they were conflicting bits of information, and when they would reach the location, it was not easy to spot the guide. Now we gather more information about all the problems we are solving, and we use user journey maps to lay down to understand how the timeline plays out and what happens to the character, which is our user, in those timelines, in those scenarios. So we use various journey maps. For example, 2 maps we could write is what if the customer purchases tickets 3 months in advance, in which case we probably will have to remind them that their tickets is about to expire and they should avail it. In the other case, if you're near Eiffel Tower and purchase the ticket there and then you are constantly refreshing to check when your tickets arrive, that's a completely different journey that we will map for, and completely different use cases will come out of it. So we use various user journey maps to understand these very problems better, to understand why they happen, what happened after, before it, what is the emotional state the customer may be in, and what are the other possible related problems we can solve for. But now you should have even bigger pool of use cases that you have, and you should have patterns between them that you can separate into user concerns or areas of concern. Let's take an example of date, time, validity, and duration. These four variables have two states. They can be either fixed or flexible. So you can have fixed time, fixed validity, or flexible validity. So this is a simple framework. Now we just design this, put it in our main concern. And when we add a new variable tomorrow, let's say seat number, we just go and add it there without too much side effects on other design parts and other concerns. So for this ticket, we had about 7-8 concerns, like ticket identifying the ticket, the main ticket area, all the instructions and information the customer must know before going to take the experience, the meeting point, cancellation policy, whom to contact, inclusion schedule, etc. Now we solve for these concerns instead of all those individual use cases that are within these concerns. They can play with each other and the side effects are contained. Remember our meeting point? This is what we did with it. We made it clear that you have to reach here. We highlighted 2 landmarks which are very nearby, helping you triangulate the position. We in words describe which location you should be reaching at. In mobile ticket, there's a link to open on Google Maps. If you print the ticket, there's a QR code you can scan to open the location on Google Maps. We also described whom are you going to find, and often try to include the photo of whom, what are you looking for. And the last, we give you 2 landmarks to ask for if you're lost. First thing, our frameworks have already given us a understanding of the problem statement and the guidelines and under which we must solve these problems. Second thing it has given us is domain specific language. Each domain has its own specific language. You will hear we talk about users, user journey maps, UX scenarios. Accountants talk about credit debit balance. So all these jargons are domain specific languages which contain a lot of context. Let's take an example of validity. We can communicate validity saying that this ticket is valid for 12 months. But the problem with that is I don't know 12 months is when. And even if I understand 12 months is when, I will have to calculate that in my head and then compare with current date and to understand whether the ticket is valid or not. Versus just saying valid till this date, which is much easier to comprehend. I know what date it is today, or I can find out quickly on my phone and compare whether this is in the past or future. And the third one could be in digital world, we just say it's valid or not and expiring soon. The language need not be limited to the words you're using. The language can also be the visual language you use. What is so good about frameworks? What is so great about frameworks? Why are they better than individually iterating each and every possible combination? The first obvious thing is it helps us handle the scope, the vast number of combinations that may exist, and help us understand their relation to each other in better light and solve for them better. The second thing framework does for us is separate the problem statement from the solution. When we try different iterations, different ways to solve the problem, we do not lose the sight of our problem, bigger picture of our problem statement. The third thing it does is help us discover new use cases that we didn't think about and new ways to solve those use cases. For example, when we were studying meeting point problem, we realized that it's very hard to spot the guide on the ground on crowded places. So we designed special t-shirts for them, which had our red hot Rhapsody color, which is much easier to spot in Europe, where most people wear neutral colors. It says out in the front, the name of the city in the front, guide in the back, which doubles, the word guide also doubles up as a discount code. Fourth thing, that important thing that frameworks do is become the knowledge powerhouse. They are the documentation of the understanding of your problem, the nuances around it. When we can build multiple feedback loops. The first feedback loop is whether these our designs for these various user concerns work with each other or not. The second feedback loop is when, after making this framework, we took about 10-15 tickets and re-rendered them using this framework, and we realized there were still a lot of use cases we were missing out, and we were able to go back and add them there. Getting feedback from stakeholders, we were able to separate the kind of feedback we are getting. Is our understanding of the problem wrong, or is the feedback more about what our solution is? This is how we use design frameworks to inform our understanding of the problem statement again, or inform our iterations. When we fail, we know exactly what failed. Is our solution not working out, or did we understand the problem incorrectly? Document it to store the knowledge. So when we come back to it, or when somebody else comes back to it, or anybody touches this project right now or in the future, they know exactly what's going on, what decisions were taken. They can compare and evaluate the solutions they are trying out. Is there any part in your organization where you see frameworks could be helpful? If there's anything else you would want me to talk about, make a video about, please let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching.